Hey, it's Shelly with Pastry Shells, and today I'm going to show you how to make these Super Bowl cookies. First, we're going to start out by making the stadium cookie. With a square cookie, you're going to use flood consistency icing and make just the fans, which is the sides of the cookies. And just spread it out. It doesn't need to be perfect because then you're going to tip it on its side, and usually over a bowl is probably best. Pour over the sprinkles. Make sure to do this while the icing is still wet so the sprinkles stick. When you're done, shake off the excess, and then using flood consistency green royal icing, you're going to fill in the remaining area to make the field. Let this dry, and once you're done, you're going to use stiff consistency white royal icing. You're going to pipe the lines of the fields. I always start with the middle and then do the ends, so then I can fill in the other two in between and make them look more evenly spaced out. Then you're going to pipe the numbers for the yard lines on both sides, and then you're done with this cookie. For the football cookie, draw the center line and then connect it to make the round parts of the football. Fill it in with flood consistency brown icing. Once that's dry, use stiff consistency brown royal icing to create the center line, as well as white royal icing to create the details. Then use the brown royal icing to create the texture on the bottom of the football. To make the logos for the Falcons cookies, I printed out the logos and then I used parchment paper laying on top of it, and using stiff consistency royal icing, I traced the pattern. I also added a little bit of water to my stiff consistency just so that it would fill in a little bit whenever I created some details. Make sure to take your time with this and use all the colors that you need to create all the little details of the logo. You can also have a picture of the logo to the side just so you can see a little more of the details without the parchment paper covering it up. Make sure to go over each detail with more icing to make the logo even thicker. You want this to be thick or else it will be too fragile to remove from the parchment paper. After making a couple of these, I realized it was easier for me to just fill in the background with all white and then just look at the picture and do the black and the red over the top of it. However, if your logo is a little more difficult, you can always just continue to do it just like this, where you trace every color over the top of the overlay. If this is the first time that you have done this, I would also recommend to use bigger pictures. The smaller that the picture is, the more difficult it is to create the logo with the icing. So always start with something a little bigger so that you can get it to look perfect. Another tip is to also make plenty of extra. Here I made 2 extra only because they were small, so I knew that they really weren't going to break that easily. But if they have a lot of fragile elements to them, I would make sure to make at least 4 extra just in case they break when you remove them from the parchment paper. Make sure to let your logos dry for at least 4 hours so that no part of them will stick to the parchment paper when you remove them. A lot of times the center of them is hard to remove if you don't let it dry completely. For the cookie, start with an iced white round cookie and using edible silver spray, coat the top of it. Make sure that your icing is completely dry before doing this. Using red, or in some of the other cookies I used black, pipe the border around the cookie. There are lots of different types of borders that you could use. I chose a simple pearl pattern around the edge. Once the logos are fully dry, you can easily remove them from the parchment paper. I make sure to bend the paper a little bit so that I can peel them off pretty easily. Then, using stiff consistency icing, or really any consistency icing, cover the back of the logo and then just place it on top of the cookie and let it dry, and then you're done. Go Falcons!